to me, like Hannibal Buress, like he's all time. So like,
I love Hannibal.
Yeah, he's all time.
I love that closer in his last Miami special about getting arrested. That was fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, true story.
Yeah, I really Hannibal Buress, like I love him. We still credit with him for really kind of calling out Bill Cosby and really kind of launching that shit. I don't think people are really. Again, you don't always look at the origin of something, but it was like
Cosby ain't listening to I Lift Weights. Let's put it that way.
No, but I was more talking about. Remember in his stand-up, he was like, I think he was doing some crowd work, and he was like, call him out, and
you pull your pants up.
Yeah, and then it started like kind of building steam, and then there were some women that popped up was like, he's not fucking lying, and that's really true.
In
and
the CNN doc, they credit Hannibal Buress.
Do they really?
Absolutely, 100%.
I remember I used to work the Door Broadway Comedy Club, and Mike DiStefano, R.I.P., who was a great comic, was on stage, and someone heckled him about Cosby, and he goes, yeah, well, he fucking rapes women, so I curse, but I don't do that. Something like that.
Yeah.
You know? I'm butchering the wording, but I was like, I didn't know that. That was the first I ever heard of it.
Yeah. And the worst part of, I won't say the worst part about it is obviously the women.
I'm listening.
My best celebrity story is Bill Cosby.
Let's hear it.
My best celebrity story is Bill Cosby. So like when people was like, Richard, okay, listen, you've been in the league 17 years, you've been around. What's your best story?
Ooh,
and it was
what
like,
are we talking?
okay,
Sleepover?
No. My best story, and
he handed you a coffee.
No. This is it. So I've always been a fan of comedy. I've always been that one, and I also like to argue. So my parents would always, say like, "Oh, you're either going to be a lawyer or a comedian." My mom and dad are both from Philadelphia, right? Cosby, his roots. Grew up watching the Cosby Show. So when I was a little kid, and I was always like cracking jokes, getting in trouble, and my dad would always say like, "You're not a comedian unless Bill Cosby tells me you're a comedian." So I'm like, "Oh, whatever." And he would tell me that my dad, that was my dad. He would we loved the Cosby Show, whatever. Fast forward to like 2005, 2006. I'm with the Nets playing whatever, and one of the people that Claudia, she worked with the Nets, and I was like telling her about how we were just bullshitting, telling her about Bill Cosby, and she's like, "Oh, I help Bill all the time. Every time he comes to the game, I get his tickets, I take care of him. I'm like his own personal like concierge." And I was like, "No fucking way." She's like, "He's amazing. He would 100% do that." So I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Whoa.
Right? My mind is like, because Claudia and I, we worked together for years. And so I'm telling her this random story and blah, blah, blah. And so fast forward like a week, I get a phone call from Bill Cosby. And I'm like,
that's a surreal.
a random number. And I'm just like, hello? And yeah. Hey. So I get a call and it was like, is this Richard? And I was like, I don't know who it is. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm glad I put my hand up to make it seem like I'm talking on the phone. And he was like, so I hear your parents say that you're not a comedian unless you talk to me or and I was like, and now it's like all starting to click. And so then I try and say something funny. He didn't laugh. He didn't think it was funny. He was just like, why don't you give me your parents' phone number? And at that point in time, I was like, oh, okay. So I give him my parents' number. I'm talking about, like, what I say.
It'd be great if this was the Cosby impersonator.
I wish I could.
Yeah.
I wish it was.
What year is this?
This was probably like, I want to say like 2006, maybe.
Okay, wow.
Right, 2006. So Bill Cosby, I talked to Bill Cosby on the phone. I give him my parents' number. He calls my parents. And now at this, like, he calls my parents. My parents don't know who is talking to them for the first two. It's just like, so I hear that apparently you say your son's only a comedian if I talk to him, blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing a terrible Cosby impersonation. I'm drunk. I apologize. And after a while, my parents realize who the fuck they are talking to. And he was a Nets fan, so that was what got me some grace. And so, like, my mom calls me and she's like, Richard, your dad did like a fucking flip after he realized. And he got their information. And then the next time he went to tour in Phoenix, my parents went and watched them. He went and met them, talked to them. And then, like, again, in 2006, Bill Cosby is fucking Michael Jackson. He's Prince. He's fucking that guy.
Yes.
Right? Like, he is still the most untouchable comedian maybe that has ever lived, right? And so that to me, it was like to tell this story that like Bill Cosby gave me the blessing that my dad had always, God rest his soul, my daddy passed away. But it was like, to me, that was and it was like, once all this shit happened, I was so sad for all of the women that he offended, and it was fucking piece of shit to do it. But also, like, Bill Cosby gave me his blessing.
Doesn't take away from the story.
It doesn't take it away. And so, like, that was the one. It's like, I don't tell the story very, very often. From
what I got from the story is that Cosby's a great guy. Across the board. And
he didn't do anything to my mom. So, like, that was positive.
There you go.
That was positive. But it was one of those things, like, I recognize and I am sensitive to like what went on, but at the same point in time, it's like
you got to take your W there.
Yeah, like
it's pretty special,
like
incredible.
A random connection, and I tell this story, and like, you know, that's always been my dream, just to fucking crack jokes and fucking have people laugh. I enjoy it. So to have Bill Cosby do that, I'm like, I've probably told that story only like 2 or 3 times because like I'm sensitive to the subject, but I can tell you guys because you don't give a fuck. You guys don't give a shit. Yeah,
no, that's incredible.
We're sensitive to the victims too, but we do want a good story on the pod.
You want a good story on the pod? Okay, well that's my one Bill Cosby. Like he is my best celebrity story. If you were to ever tell me, the fact that he called my parents, talked to them, told them I was a comedian, told them he thought I was funny, and then met them when he went and toured out there. So. Is he out of jail? Can I say shout out Bill Cosby?
He is out of jail, yeah. He's touring again.
Bill, hopefully you've been, what's the word?
Rehabilitated?
On your best behavior?
Hopefully you've been rehabilitated, but I'm very, very appreciative of that because my dad, God rest his soul, he was the biggest fan.
There you go. And I have trouble sleeping, so yeah, hit me.